The Chargers made some gigantic plays late and they absolutely stole a win from the Eagles on Monday Night Football.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Droegemeier, and we've been covering the Chargers now for 10 seasons, but this is our 8th year as a host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day and making us the #1 sports podcast network. We have to thank the everydayers out there to make sure you never miss the show, especially super late Locked On live editions of the show after a gigantic win. Go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from. David, what a game. What a win.
Big time victory. The Chargers did what they had to do, and we saw it from the very beginning. They were playing with that violence that we needed to see, and it was not pretty, but they did what they had to do at the end to pick up a massive statement victory.
And there will be plenty of time to nitpick. The big thing is they got the job done, and that is absolutely what's most important. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. And David, the Chargers snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. This game was over 7 times in my mind before the final whistle blew. And even when things got so tough and it felt like there was no way the Chargers could come back, they go and beat, while, a struggling team, but the former Super Bowl champions, the reigning Super Bowl champions, a team that was desperate to get a big win, and the Chargers did what they had to do and made the clutch plays late in this game to finish them off.
Just a massive statement win for the Chargers. Outside of the Denver Broncos victory, they hadn't really had one of those big wins to really be able to kind of test and show which version or who this football team was. And I think tonight, there's no other way that you can say that they didn't make that statement tonight. This is a legitimate big time win against a playoff caliber team, a team that is very much in the thick of it in the NFC. This is huge. This is massive. This is a win that can change the trajectory of the Chargers season. And I think, honestly, one of the signature wins of the Jim Harbaugh era.
Absolutely. I mean, ask him, right? Jim Harbaugh's putting it up there with the birth of his 7 children in his wedding day. So, I mean, yeah, you can tell how much it means to these guys, and they don't care how it happens, right? Like, to get that win, they're on top of the world, and they feel like they could go beat anybody. And I think the one big thing this game brings is the fact that the Chargers can hang with anybody, right? Like, this was a B game by the Chargers, obviously an A+ game by the Chargers defense, but like the Chargers didn't play a complete game and they still beat a good playoff team that has, the kind of metal to be able to come through in those big moments. But it was the Chargers who were able to do that, including Tony Jefferson, the man who's multi-time on this podcast, right? Multi-time guest for this show, a guy we've always advocated for, and a guy that just seems to come up so clutch at the end of these games and in big moments. Last week, you get the interception on the sideline after the tip by Dante Jackson. This week, it's the game-winning interception after David, where the Chargers had a 3rd and 16 in overtime to potentially ice it. They don't get off the field. The Chargers get into a 4th and 4 situation where it's the game on the line and you can win it right there. They're not even trying to kick the field goal, and then you give it to him, right? And I'm like, I don't think he crossed the line. I thought it was BS from, where I was sitting. It looked like he definitely moved but didn't cross it, and then they went, so they had to call something. It was over in my mind. And so for Cam Hart specifically, we'll talk more about him having probably his best game ever, but for the Chargers to be able to make that big play with everything going against them, and for Tony Jefferson to have the vet wherewithal to get his hands on that ball and find a way to stay in bounds, that is just such a huge win for this team who won this game on the back of their defense.
Overcoming the adversity that they kind of set up from themselves. Like the 3rd and 16, I was wanting to rip my hair out. Like those situations, you absolutely cannot allow that. Those are big advantage situations where your pass rush has to get home, and you cannot allow those type of conversions. Those lose you games right then and there. And then to get an offsides penalty on a 4th and 4 is just soul crushing. I thought it was over. I mean, that was a crippling mistake right there. I was like, oh, that's it. They're going to win. They're going to go score this touchdown. That was it. The Chargers can't overcome this mistake. That was one too many. But it wasn't. They did overcome it. Wow, what a play for them to be able to tip that ball and get that interception. Tony Jefferson, just an absolutely incredible player. 4 interceptions in the year of our Lord, 2025, for the great Tony Jefferson, a guy who just knows where to be, just super intelligent, and you see it on the football field. The guy just makes plays every time he's on the field, and this is another one for his highlight reel.
Yeah, man, you gotta love Tony Jefferson. Just truly trying to get everything he can out of his playing career after hanging him up. After the fake tush push Saquon Barkley touchdown, I thought this game was over. Then the Eagles go back up by 3 after you end up tying it, and then I thought the game was over then. The Chargers lead a game-tying drive. Like, there was just so many times in this game where I thought the Chargers weren't going to be able to come back, and, we'll talk about the issues with their offense, but, drive after drive, field goal drive after field goal drive, and shout out to Cam Dicker, who you just have all the faith in the world. He's
cash money, baby,
and drill a 54-yard field goal. We'll talk more about him being perfect today, but so many times I thought this one was over, and I think that's where you see the difference in this team really playing through the bitter end. And you don't have that play if you're letting all of the scar tissue from years past into your head in those big moments. You don't have the play you have at the end there to finish that game off, and I think that is where you see the difference, and the one kind of thing that gives you hope in this brutal final 4-game stretch that the Chargers can do what they need to do to go get into the playoffs, right? Because that's what it's going to take. But we have to take a moment to talk about Cam Hart, who just had, maybe the game of his career. It wasn't perfect, but man, time after time, this dude was just making big play after big play, and it ends up making the biggest play in the biggest moment in overtime.
Cam Hart, a guy that the talent was never a question. Whenever he got on the field, it just seems like this guy had it. I mean, he has the length, he has the size, the speed. He has everything that you want from a corner, and he was drafted in the 5th round. And, man, this was one of his flower blossoming games here. Just sticky in coverage, made a huge interception, and then was in the right place in the right time with a unbelievably athletic play for him to contort his body, get his hand on that football, tip it up. And when that happens on defense, good things happen. And, of course, the opportunistic one, Tony Jefferson was right there to cash in. But that doesn't happen if Cam Hart isn't in the right place and doesn't have that presence of mind to be able to make that play. Unbelievable from him. And also want to shout out Dante Jackson, too. I mean, another fantastic game, another interception from him. A guy, all he does is just get interceptions. Joe Ortiz, my hat's off to you, man. It's unbelievable what you've been able to do, both in free agency and in the draft, being able to get guys that can contribute and make plays in this secondary. They were fantastic tonight.
Yeah, man, it's funny because, you're kind of halfway through the season. You're like, I don't know if Dante Jackson's getting, to those big numbers he's had, and all of a sudden you turn around and he has 4 picks, right? It's just it happened quickly. And this time, a great break on the football to pick off Jalen Hurts in a pivotal moment there, one of the 4 times that intercepted Hurts in this game. But that's the crazy thing about Cam Hart, man, is that last play won them the game. But he had a couple, almost, he had at least one almost just as impressive plays that probably saved the game for the Chargers on a 2nd and 11 on the game, go-ahead field goal drive by the Eagles. He makes a perfect play. Jalen Hurts, a perfect throw into the back of the end zone, drops it in the bucket. A.J. Brown has both of his hands on it, and you have Cam Hart staying calm, not interfering, and raking through his arm to break that pass up.
Beautiful.
The Chargers don't get a touchdown there. I hate to break it to you. I don't think they go and score. I mean, they only got one all night, and it was the first drive of the game, right? So, if the Eagles go up by 7 there, it gives the game an entirely different complexion, especially with the Chargers being in obvious passing situations where we know how much they've struggled. But that was huge. The other part is he got his first career interception in this game, right? Opportunistic. Ball bounces off the hands of A.J. Brown, who is hearing footsteps. Cam Hart is there to set up 3 points. The Chargers won by 3 points. And when you have a game that comes down this close, there's so many moments you can pull from where it's that game Like that moment, they don't have it unless they make that play. And that's what this game was about. The Chargers making the big plays they had to. And their quarterback, Justin Herbert, playing through a broken hand and being able to do what it takes to go win this game. If you want to put him down in the high stat games where he's getting losses, you better prop him up in the game where he finds a way to get it done, even if he didn't have the flashy stats. So we have a lot more to get into on today's Locked On Chargers podcast. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting, because you're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. And with FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is the best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into that moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props updates as guys heat up. And you can even go with anytime touchdown scores and so much more than just the spread in these games. But very interested to see what the spread is going to be, with the Chargers getting a chance to end the Chiefs' 2025 season next week in Arrowhead. And this game makes you feel like they have a chance. But touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com to place your live NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. David, still so much more to get into from this game, because there were so many big moments, so many players who really came through when they were needed. And I think you can't go any further without talking about Justin Herbert, where it's the ultimate kind of box score game where if you look at it, you're like, well, didn't play great, right? And then obviously, he missed the throw here, a bad decision there, whatever. This game, I think why it was so important for Justin Herbert was it was almost, we've talked about Rose Bowl Justin Herbert before, right? Where the passing game's not working and he takes it upon himself, or even have criticized him in the past when you have a game like the Houston Texans game from the playoffs last year, where it's like he doesn't have a single scramble in that game. The passing game was bad in this game. The offensive line was atrocious. He put the team on his back on that game-tying and game-winning drives where he carried the ball, pulled a couple of read options, and did exactly what he needed to do while having a broken hand. And at one point, David, while he's the leading rusher for this team, he is stiff-arming a dude with his broken hand that was surgically repaired a week ago today. So, like I said, if you're going to crush him when he has these big stats and the Chargers give the game away late, I think you have to give him all the props in the world when he plays through obvious pain, is getting pressured at an unprecedented rate, and still finds a way to put the team on his back in big moments and get points I never thought they were going to be able to get.
Justin Herbert, another game-winning drive. Oh, ho-hum. Oh, no, Justin Herbert, another game where he plays with an injury, where he gets sacked 7 times, where he has to face a pressure rate of about 70%. Oh, wow, Justin Herbert did it again. Put some respect on my quarterback's name. It's another big-time performance from him. No, he didn't have the sexy passing stats, but when his best was required to go tie the game, he put a drive together. When it was required for him to go out there and go get the lead and set up a field goal drive for that, he did that too. Justin Herbert showed up, showed that dog, and went out there and fought for his teammates and gave everything that he had while getting smoked all game long and picked up the victory. Justin Herbert put his cape on tonight, and he absolutely deserves respect.
Yeah, and I think it's just so hard to kind of put into perspective like how tough it is to deal with the specific pressure he's getting, where you're talking about guys just running free, untouched in the A-gap, a straight line, the closest line to the quarterback, and we saw it time and time again. And this offense was completely overmatched by the Eagles defense, who seemed like they knew the exact playbook the Chargers were going into it with. And I do think that with him, obviously, the headline here is just, hey, he did what he had to do. He got the Chargers a gigantic win, and it's not going to be the only time in these final 4 weeks of the season where he's going to have to do it. But the Chargers were 0-7 against teams that were not named the Broncos, that were playoff teams last year and this year. The Chargers beat the Eagles on Monday Night Football, and they don't do it without maybe one of the gutsiest performances that we've seen from Justin Herbert. But that being said, the reason it was such an impressive performance is because the offensive issues were so glaring in this game, and they went up against one of the elite defenses in this league. And man, that offensive line, the passing routes. I mean, the concepts they had, the spacing was just awful. The play calling on third downs was insane. Yes, they won. They did what they had to do. That's what's most important. But man, something has to change offensively for this team, because it's just, you can't win games like this consistently, and they're going to need to win another one, maybe two, the rest of this year.
Yeah, I mean, they got Justin Herbert sacked 7 times, hit 11 times, and it wasn't all on him, right? It wasn't just Justin Herbert. I mean, there was part of it, just being the fact that he didn't have a lot of places to throw the ball. Like that defense was strapping the Chargers wide receivers up. There was not a lot of opening spaces there, so you had to hold on to the ball. You had to be able to scramble and get away. And some of those, where he took some nasty hits, man. I mean, people going for his hands and stuff, like just dirty play out there. Like it unfortunately, whenever you have an injury, there's going to be a target on it. People are going to go for it. That's just what it is. It's a sucky part of the game, but he went through it. He fought through it, and he dealt with it, and he persevered at the end of the day. Yeah, it wasn't great, and this offense definitely has to figure some things out. They got to get some concepts that work, to get some guys some easy completions. Seems like there's not enough easy throws out there. It seems like Justin Herbert has to work his butt off and be able to make some incredible throws, like, strafing to his left and hitting a second round pick Trey Harris over the middle for a absolutely fantastic conversion there. But that was what it was. It had to be that level of difficulty for Justin Herbert tonight.
Yeah, and like that's the hard thing. It's like it doesn't have to be that way. And I know that behind the 8 ball with the issues that they have offensively, especially with the offensive line. Go watch the Chiefs game from last week, and and they're from Sunday Night Football, and tell me how important it is, to not be missing 3 starting offensive linemen. Yeah, sacked 7 times, 11 quarterback hits. To your point, at one point in the fourth quarter, Robert Mays put that he was being pressured on 72% of his dropbacks, which, no hyperbole, is the biggest number I've ever seen in regards to a quarterback under pressure. And we're talking about in the fourth quarter. But, it's not to absolve, Greg Roman, who, again, in this game, there's a big portion of it where I thought he got away from the running game, especially after an interception, Cam Hart, or earlier interception from Dante Jackson. You have a chance. Or no, I think it was after the crazy play. You have a chance there to, extend. Or no, it was the Dante Jackson one. But either way, you have a chance there to go put points on the board automatically. You throw the ball on first down, and Marion Hampton gets blown up in the hole. Justin Herbert fumbles, right? It was just times like that. It's like, okay, pound the rock, man. That's been your most effective thing. The Chargers ran for 160 yards, and I can't believe I was still yelling on my TV screen, hey, go. Run the ball, Greg.
More.
And it was hit or miss, right? It felt like they were either getting 7 or 8, or they were getting a 2-yard loss. So I understand some parts of it, but the bigger issue to me is the spacing of the offense is just god awful.
Yeah, you got receivers running into each other. That stuff can't happen.
One of the biggest third downs of the game. Luckily the Chargers got the ball back. They might not have. That could have been it right there on the biggest third down of the game. You have 2 Chargers receivers running into each other, right? It's just, you have another one where the Chargers basically are running stick. It's I thought we got rid of that with Joe Lombardi when he left, right? Where you're just having everyone run 7 yards and turn around. The problem with that is if you don't have those guys open immediately, they're not getting open. They're all stationary. Nobody's moving, and they're so close together because this play before that on 2nd and 11, that's what you ran. Before guys were running into each other, you have another play where you have 2 guys 3 yards away from each other, just turning around, waiting for the football, and Justin Herbert's trying to create in the pocket, but nobody is actually moving to go get open. So, there's a lot of issues here, but man, the game plan stunk, I thought, for the most part, outside of that opening script. And I do think that was a lot because Justin Herbert created and found a wide open Kamani Vidal who got 60 yards, right?
Yeah.
So issues for sure. Those are obviously just some things where it's these things have to be better. It's not going to be perfect, but Greg, you got to be able to be more creative. Vic Fangio read the book to his defense, and they had all the answers to the test in this one. But I do think there was some good moments. It was definitely great seeing Omarion Hampton back in the lineup, and I think you saw his impact immediately.
Yeah, I mean, he was out there. I think I counted at least 3 runs of 10-plus yards. He had a long of 18. Obviously, got back in the end zone immediately on that first drive that the Chargers were out there, and just love the physicality, man. The way he runs, he's able to break tackles. If you need him to get physical on the 3rd and short, he's able to do that, and he showed that tonight. But it's just the big play, man. The big play ability. When you get the ball in his hands, you can see him. It doesn't take much for him to be able to get some real positive yards. He's electric, and I can't wait to see more of him going down the stretch.
Yeah, man. I mean, that 18-yard burst that he had in overtime that basically set up that game-winning field goal. We didn't know it then, but it ended up being that. Yeah, that was awesome. And it shows the burst that he has. It shows the explosiveness he brings to the table. And like even Kamani Vidal has a 60-yard catch in this game.
Yeah.
And together they combined for exactly 100 rushing yards. So in total, the two backs combined for 171 yards from scrimmage. Like that is a huge thing to have. But yeah, it was the 18-yard run. It was a couple of, broken tackles. The one you're talking about with the short yardage, a 3rd and 2, where the Chargers keep the ball on the ground. He has met in the hole by a defender, and he pushes him another 2.5 yards to get that first down. That's just something you don't have without him. And I thought it came up. There's going to be bigger box scores for him, but I thought Omarion Hampton, his impact was felt immediately. But David, it's time to give our flowers where they need to go right now, and that is to Jesse Minter's defense, who we've questioned him at times this year, and he's gotten outcoached at times. Man, I thought he was excellent in this game, and the Chargers defense absolutely responded. We're going to get into that and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. First, though, I need to tell you guys about Mint Mobile because, there's no reason to let big wireless drain your wallet, especially during the holidays when you're penny pinching. Right now, Mint Mobile is running their best deal of the year. All of their unlimited plans are 50% off. That means you can lock in 3, 6, or even 12 months of unlimited premium wireless for just $15 a month. It's the easiest way to take your overpriced phone bill and give it the full Scrooge treatment. And what makes this even better is how simple Mint makes it to make the switch. No contracts, no nonsense, just real savings and real quality service. Switching to Mint lets you keep the same coverage for a lower price. Setup takes only a few minutes, and you can bring your own phone number without any issues. It feels good knowing I'm not overpaying and I'm still able to stay connected. Turn your expensive wireless present into huge wireless savings future by switching to Mint. Shop Mint unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. Limited time offer, upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for a 12-month plan. Required taxes and fees, initial plan term only. Less than 35 gig or over 35 gigabytes might slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Available speed and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. David, we still have more to get into because we haven't talked really in depth about the performance of Jesse Minter's defense. And we talked about it a little bit this week where with the stretch the Chargers had, with the defenses that the Chargers are going to go up against, and this was one of them, there's still a couple more on that schedule, especially the Texans that are looking back and looking really scary right now. But we knew the Chargers defense was going to have to win them games. Like the Chargers offense did enough in this game, but it was their defense that absolutely won them this game. And I think we have to give a hat tip to Jesse Minter because, man, that defense was opportunistic tonight. They were bend but don't break, and they made a ton of big plays down the stretch, including sealing the game in overtime.
Straps, baby. That's right. They got 4 interceptions in this game, 5 turnovers. The Chargers defense was everywhere outside of a couple of Saquon Barkley runs that I'm sure they would have liked to have had back. I think they did an excellent job of putting a roof over the coverage outside of, A.J. Brown, but they did a fantastic job of limiting the points in this game. The Chargers defense was all over the place. They definitely got pressure. They only got 1 sack, but they got pressure, and they definitely heated up Jalen Hurts, and they made him throw before he was ready, made him make mistakes, and they were there to capitalize. 4 interceptions, 5 turnovers. That's a massive performance by any stretch of the imagination, and they did it in prime time in front of the world.
Yeah, they did. And I think, obviously the biggest thing that we had as far as our defensive keys for success was just not letting Saquon Barkley get rolling. And obviously he has the big play. He gets the Chargers on that fake tush push, which, was there a hold on it? Sure, probably. But the Chargers, obviously, it was a great play design, a great time to call that because the Chargers were all week. Hey, this is what we're going to do to stop this tush push when they try to do it. And then the first time they pulled it out, they ran a wrinkle that, just totally fooled them. They just didn't have the numbers on the outside to go combat it. But they did a pretty good job outside of that. I know that seems crazy when he has 20 carries for 122 yards and is averaging 6.1 yards per carry. But outside of the 52-yard touchdown, which was obviously a great play call and great execution, and he still has, that home run hitting ability, his other 19 carries went for 70 yards, which is 3.7 yards per carry. Now, that explosive was huge, and it got them their touchdown. at the same time, it wasn't the main story throughout the game. The Eagles could have got the ball back late in that game when they kicked the go-ahead field goal and just drained the Chargers. Like, they could have just mauled them and ran the ball every time, but they couldn't do that because the Chargers were doing a good enough job in the running game. And the other part of it was they were having times where they were dropping Saquon Barkley in the backfield. And that's the thing.
Losses.
If you're going to be, a team that can't consistently be great in the running game all the time, you have to do enough. Get them behind the sticks, find the few plays for losses, and I thought they did that well in this game. But they were just hungry for that football, man. There's no other way around it. Like Dante Jackson, great break on that ball. Cam Hart, an amazing play to tip that ball up. Also being there for the interception that goes off A.J. Brown's hands, who, had a big game, but could have had a much bigger game if it weren't for Cam Hart, for sure. And I just think that also it led, that ball hawking ability showed up in the weirdest moment of this game, David, where we saw 3 turnovers in one play. And this was crazy. And it was such a good play designed by Jesse Minter, who is basically a sim pressure. He is bringing 5, but he's having a defensive tackle on Deshaun Hand fall back into coverage. Shades of Tier Tart in more ways than one against the Cardinals in 2024. Deshaun Hand in perfect position. Jalen Hurts, of course, throws it.
We saw in the
right
preseason this year, didn't we?
We did see it in the preseason this year, but the reason I'm recalling the name of Tier Tart of last season was Deshaun Hand, bless his heart. That man tried to put 2 hands on the football and cover that thing up to not have his Marlon McCree moment, and it didn't matter. It got punched out.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts, what are you doing, brother? That's a first down right there if you fall on it. It's already changed possession. He doesn't. Jamari Caldwell, the rookie, talking about young guys stepping up, punches it out of Jalen Hurts' hands, and then you have Troy Dye that goes and keeps it in bounds and secures it. Somehow Jalen Hurts threw it an interception and also lost a fumble on the same play, which I saw SportsCenter, putting out that's not happened since 1978 that a guy's been able to turn the ball over twice on the same play. I wouldn't have thought it was possible. So I think at the end of the day,
it's pretty wild.
That is crazy. The Charger defense, yes, they gave up 365 yards of offense in an overtime game. That's more than you want.
But less than 20 points.
Man, but they kept coming through, like they forced field goals and they end up missing one of them. That's 3 points. That's the difference. You get 6 points directly scored off of turnovers in this game. That not only gets you the win, it's a loss if you don't have them, right? Take 6 points away and see what it does in a game like this. It's all so important. And I just think that, man, they needed to win the Chargers some games down the stretch, and they did that in this game. They were the reason the Chargers won.
They definitely were. The Chargers defense was everywhere. They made plays all night. They made life uncomfortable for Jalen Hurts. They zapped his confidence early, and they continually zapped it throughout the game to where at the end he got pressured, he threw it up, the Chargers made another play and made it hurt and sealed a victory.
Yeah, and let's also, now it's time to kind of sink in and give our flowers to Cameron Dicker, because I know that we have a wide-ranging span of Charger fans that, watch the show and enjoy us, that have been around for, a year, that have been around for 50 years. We have them all in the everyday, fan club. But I would say that the part isn't just that he goes 5 for 5, 45, 34, 31, 46, 54. That man came up time and time again to tie the game in the fourth quarter. Makes it. To tie the game, to send it into overtime, he makes it. A 54-yarder that not only puts you ahead, but if you miss it, you're basically setting them up for an easy win. All they have to do is, get a first down and kick a field goal. This isn't the life I've lived as a Charger fan, David. Like, I've seen them have the most accurate kicker in NFL history. It was Nate Keating, right? What did he do? Missed kicks in big moments. Yeah. Time after time. Your kicker was perfect. Shout out to the execution of Josh Harris, right? Shout out to J.K. Scott. But, man, Cameron Dicker, to have this kicker, it feels like a dream.
Just seems like if there's no issues with the operation, he's automatic. It's snap, hold, kick, straight through the uprights. And it's not left, right. It's right down the middle. It's a drive right down the middle. It's just a beautiful draw. He has absolute ice water in his veins. He's trustworthy, and he goes out there and knocks it out. He is a amazing human being on the field and off the field as the Chargers' Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee for the second year in a row. What he does with kids who are sick and dealing with unbelievable tragedies off the field, to give some hope, to give some happiness, to give them a smile, is completely on brand for who he is and how he performs when he's wearing the uniform and when he's not.
Yeah, man, I think if you're visiting those kids, it definitely can put life in perspective and what, constitutes a huge moment in your life, being a sport, definitely, I think, puts it in perspective there. But yeah, it's just never in my lifetime have I had more confidence. And like they put him up on the screen as he's about to go kick him, and you look in his eyes and it just looks like he knows he's going to do it. That last one, he got underneath it a little bit. He definitely popped that one up, barely got over the uprights. I know he has more than 54 yards in that leg.
Oh, yeah.
But he's, the rest of the special teams unit owes him a shout out because there was some good coverage moments, but man, were the punt coverage unit trying to just give things up there at the end with some brutal missed tackling. But David, it's about this, right? We're going to have time. We're going to have all week to kind of break down everything. Shorter week, buy or sell tomorrow. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different. But they got the win. And not only did they get the win, they get a chance, David, to bury the Kansas City Chiefs, who have made 3 straight Super Bowls. They will not make the Super Bowl next week if the Chargers go to Kansas City and beat them in Arrowhead. And now this game sets up an even bigger stage where you feel like, hey, the Chargers might be the team that puts the final nail in this coffin.
Daniel, there's not many things in this life that would make me happier, that would give me more euphoric joy than to put the final nail in the coffin of the dynasty of the Kansas City Chiefs. I told you before this season started that I felt like that roller coaster was reaching the top of the hill and going down. Now it's time for the Chargers to be the Undertakers and take them out and put that rest in peace on their 2025 season.
And honestly, man, like they have to play the Broncos too, but like you might be, the other best chance of a team to really knock them out because they can absolutely run the table and they'll still need some help even with the spot they're in right now. But you've beat them already this year on a neutral site. You beat them, like you're ending something. Like who knows Travis Kelce comes back, right? Or Chris Jones comes back. Like you're ending a chapter in that Chiefs book, and I can't think of anything that would feel better for this Chargers team to get that win and beat that team who is desperate and they're desperate champions, right? And to be able to go take it to them in their house. That's a great opportunity for the Chargers who now seemingly, especially if they win next week, that would pretty much put it, that pretty much is it. Like the Chargers probably make the playoffs if they win that game next week and finish off the Chiefs. And it's going to be ridiculously hard to do. But thank you guys for being with us in this super late night edition of the Locked On Chargers podcast. And we're going to keep it going a little bit after this because I know I'm buzzing. I'm not going to sleep anytime soon. And thank you for making Locked On Chargers your first listen of the day and for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. But you already live your team every day. Now you guys can also take it to the next level and get an ad-free version of the show on an audio version, which I know a lot of people would appreciate. You can join the Everydayer Club right now to get Locked On Chargers with no interruptions and a members-only Discord access, which is where I'm going after this, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. It will not change anything about the show. We're still going to give you the same thing for free that we always have, but I'm very excited to be able to go in there after this at lockedonchargers.supercast.com, or you can check the link in the show notes. But very excited. It's going to be a long night. I'm going to, basically consume everything I possibly can and have a great time with the Everydayers after this. But thank you guys for watching the show. Make sure you're back here tomorrow for Buy or Sell Tuesday, getting your biggest Chargers storylines and overreactions on the show. You can do that at Locked On LAC on Twitter, at Locked On Chargers on Instagram, and our Locked On Chargers Facebook page. I know there's going to be a lot of overreactions. We want to hear them, but make sure you guys are back here tomorrow, baby, so we can continue to celebrate this big win and talk about what's next. But until then, guys, take it easy and go Bolts.